My name's Alex. I'm an associate consultant for Focus Education. So, to go into a little bit more detail in terms of how that looks within a unit, these are the things that you'll have within any unit of learning. You'll have a pre-learning assessment, you'll have a knowledge organizer, you'll have 4 or 5 components, which are your lessons essentially. These can be split up into 2 parts if they're quite long as well. So it's completely adaptable in terms of what you want for your needs. There's a set of retrieval tasks. There's also an end of unit assessment, which again, it's meant to be low stakes. It's not kind of meant to be the be all and end all of assessment. It's meant to support teacher judgments, and it is largely multiple choice so that it supports those learners who maybe find it challenging in terms of their written ability. It's not about judging their writing, it's about judging their historical knowledge. So, in terms of the pre-assessment tasks, they might look something like this. We've got similar things that if you know or have used a sort of a KWL grid principle before, we've got things that are similar to that. Slight variations in here in terms of what I know already and what I think I know. There in that Egyptians example. And then sometimes some of these tasks link to images. Here you've got a map of ancient Egypt where it's actually trying to see whether the children understand where Egypt is on a map or can locate Egypt on a map. So there's lots of slight variations with the pre-assessment tasks in terms of identifying that knowledge that the children do or don't have already. We also have knowledge organisers to support with this. And as you can see, the key substantive knowledge is down the side under that key knowledge heading. This links to the progression. This links largely to your sub-inquiry questions for your components. So we've tried to make everything link up so that it's really clear both for teachers, for leaders, and for the children learning, so that it's really clear on what the key knowledge we want them to take away is. We've also included the key vocabulary on that knowledge organizer so that children are, they're able to refer to it when you're utilizing it within a lesson. It's not necessarily a case of that they have to go and find out what it is all the time. They've got a reference point there. There's also images to support and develop their understanding. It might, encourage them to kind of think of something that they know already or link to something that they've studied already within the unit by looking at those images. They've been carefully chosen. And then there's a little prior knowledge box at the bottom where it's just another opportunity, if teachers want to use it, if children want to use it, to note down anything that they think they know about the ancient Egyptians before they start their learning. Each component then includes lots of different things. I've taken these snapshots from the website to show you how they look on the website. So if you're on there, you can find them. But each component will have some resources to support teacher subject knowledge. There will be slides that can be shared on the screen, or some of the slides have tasks that can be printed out for the children. There'll be resources to support teaching and learning, and there'll be links to further information like websites and video clip links and things like that that can either develop subject knowledge for teachers or be utilized within a lesson to support the children's development of their knowledge. So if you haven't seen it already, you can download this unit for free if you sign up for a free trial. But this is taken from our ancient Egyptian civilization unit, and it's component 1, and every component starts like this. Here you can see a teacher's notes page, and as I said, there's information for teachers about what they're going to be teaching about and what they need to know about. There are links to further information. Some of those links might be linked to video clips and things like that. It's up to you as teachers to decide whether you want to use those as part of your lesson or not. It might just be that you need to brush up on your own subject knowledge. It might be that it's highly relevant to the children and useful for your lesson. Then there are further slides, things like, particularly in history, things like timelines are presented so that the children can start to develop their chronological understanding. Use of key language, it's really important in this unit to link to the other ancient civilizations. So that's made really clear, putting those time periods into perspective in terms of the kind of the grander chronology of the past, looking at comparing it to different time periods there, and then also using images to make comparisons between what was going on in one part of the world compared to another. So looking at Britain in the Stone Age, which was going on at the same time as the ancient Egyptian civilization was starting to kind of rise up. So it's really interesting to make those comparisons with the children. Further tasks supported by images, clear explanations, clear steps for those tasks, and thinking about reminding children of the fact that they're going to be acting like historians there. Don't forget, write like a historian. And then to support that, we've got scaffolds. So if you've got children who struggle to kind of set out their learning in their books, you've got a very simple scaffold there to support children with collecting their ideas These can be used in a range of ways. They can be used independently. They can be done as a class on the screen. They can be printed out bigger on A3 and used for group work, paired work, all that sort of thing. Again, it's entirely up to you as schools and as teachers how you choose to use these resources. They're there as a starting point. If you feel they need adapting, you can do that, but we're always intrigued to hear how you've adapted it because it can influence how we develop the learning challenge further. And then finally, there are a range of retrieval activities as part of that unit, which I think there are multiple uses for these retrieval activities. I think on the one hand, you can use the ones that are appropriate within a unit. So maybe you're in the fourth lesson of your unit of learning, and there are certain things that you want the children to recall from earlier on in the unit. You can utilize them there. But actually, when you teach your next unit of learning, there might be things that are relevant from the learning that you've completed around the ancient Egyptians that you want them to retrieve when you're learning about the next unit of learning. Maybe it's the Roman, maybe it's the ancient Greeks. But I think it's important to use those retrieval activities in lots of different ways and not just within the unit that we've attached them to. Subsequently, you might, in one year group, want to find some retrieval activities from the year group before or 2 year groups before that have a bit of knowledge that really links to what you're trying to teach the children. Encourage them to retrieve that knowledge through one of these retrieval activities so that they can then be more successful and avoid sort of cognitive overload and things like that. The other thing with these retrieval activities is that they are largely variations on a theme. So there's usually between 8 to 12 retrieval activities that are included in part of a unit of learning. And generally, as I said, they're variations on a theme so that the children get used to using the same sort of retrieval tasks, but it's the context that changes. So they're not trying to learn how to do a new task once they've got used to those retrieval activities. It's actually just a case of them applying their knowledge rather than having to teach them some sort of new process again. So there is a lot of thought that's gone into that side of things as well. And then once you've worked your way through a unit of learning, we do have our end of unit assessments. This is just a snapshot from one. If you'd like to find out more, please ask. But essentially, the majority of the questions within them are multiple choice. There's around sort of 10 to 15 questions in each. Usually the last couple of questions start to step away from that multiple choice nature because they're aimed more at the disciplinary side of things. So your first range of questions will sort of assess the children in a low stakes way on their substantive knowledge. What can they remember about the ancient Egyptians in this case? And then the final couple of questions are always based around developing their disciplinary knowledge. So how can they be historians when studying the ancient Egyptians? And that will sort of assess them on things like, do they understand the importance of sources of evidence? Are they able to assess a source of evidence's reliability? Are they able to make judgments from evidence that they've seen? And there'll be images and examples of evidence and things like that are there to support the children with developing their responses and their answers. We've also designed them actually so that they'd be really easy just to be read to children if needed. So that if as I said earlier, we're not trying to test them on their writing ability. We're not trying to test them on their reading ability either. We're testing, or I hate actually, the word testing is the wrong word. We're assessing their ability to understand and interpret historical information. We're not trying to assess their reading and writing abilities here. So that's the assessments, and they can be used in a range of ways.